Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm the therapist, Tess Brigham.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And today we are calling this Week in Reality TV. We are going to discuss 3 different reality TV shows that have come into the world. The Baldwins on TLC, Meghan Markle's new show With Love, Meghan on Netflix, and Denise Richards and Her Wild Things, which is on Bravo Peacock. I got them all, right? Okay.
Yes. That's a lot.
It is a lot
to talk about, yeah.
So both the Baldwins and Denise Richards shows, they've only released 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Meghan Markle released all of her episodes at once. I'm sorry, Meghan, Princess of Sussex. I don't know what Sussex. Released all 8. I don't quite understand why, but okay, it's a Netflix thing. And so, yeah.
I watched the first 2. Did you watch the first?
I watched actually more than that. I had a lot of thoughts about the whole Meghan Markle thing. So you tell us where you want to start there with Meghan?
Sure.
Okay.
So,
what to say?
Just to start with the first episode.
Okay. I want to start with, I really walked into this with this idea of, I'm not here to hate. I'm not here to like slam everything she does. I'm not gonna, this isn't about that. She's had enough crapola, and the monarchy is still happening. She did not take them down. It's all okay. So that she's gotten a lot of crap. And I think that when I started watching it, I was like, oh, okay, this is nice. Okay. And then you watch another episode and you're like, oh, okay. And then you watch the 3rd episode where she has Roy Choi on. And that's one thing I was just like, I don't get this. And I think I want to quote this Vulture article that I was reading in a second, but I think the biggest issue is that it feels like the problem is that Meghan or the producers or maybe all of them together, it was a little bit of, this is what happens when you spend too much time in the comment section. Like, she doesn't really have a point of view. It all feels very milquetoast, watered down, because it feels like, well, what are we doing here? Is this about entertaining? Is this about, it's because you love to cook? Is this like for kids? Is this, and I understand it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of what Martha Stewart did, right? Absolutely. But the problem with it today is that Martha Stewart worked back then because there was no one like Martha Stewart out there. And there was no one that was really like touching upon all of these things. The problem now is that everybody is like a like everybody knows how to make balloon arches. Like, there's a whole Etsy store. Like, a lot of these craft creative things that she's doing and talking about, and these ideas, it's kind of out there. So it's a little bit of like, what's your unique point of view, Meghan? And I think, to me, I feel like that's where the show falls a little flat. Not that it's bad or that she doesn't know what she's doing. It's just more of like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, it doesn't feel sincere. I don't believe that she has any connection to any of these things that she's doing. I think it's so overly produced. It's like someone says, okay, like the first episode, the theme is honey, because she's got these bees, allegedly. Do we even know?
No, I think they're her bees, but she has a bee guy come.
She has a beekeeper, yeah, and she may or may not have, I don't know how much I believe of any of this. She may or may not have bees on her property because, the show's not even being filmed at her house.
Yes.
And she says that in the first episode, that this is not her house. And it's like, but Meghan, that's what we want to see. We want to see you in your house. We want to see your kids. We want to see you interact with your husband. We want to see what you really make your kids for snacks, not this fancy, stupid finger sandwich thing that she does with Mindy Kaling. We want to see you. We actually are interested in Meghan Markle. I think she is an interesting person, and she had an interesting life before she even met Prince Harry. And we've said this before. The best thing that they've ever done was they did a Netflix documentary about their life and what happened to them, after they got married and why they left and all that kind of stuff. And that was interesting, and they were vulnerable. And, I can relate to that. I don't believe does any of this. Martha Stewart actually did have a garden that she, curated, and like the stuff she brought in stuff from her own life. She was catering parties. She was entertaining people for her husband's business. She was actually doing this stuff. Who is Meghan Markle entertaining?
Well, and I see, the thing is that I completely agree with you that I understand maybe not wanting to have it in your own house if it's going to disrupt your life and any of that. But it would have been good to have some things with her kids. She talks about her kids a lot. Mm-hmm. It would be nice to see her kids. It's interesting. The dog that's in there, Guy actually just passed away. And it was interesting. Like, she talked about the dog at one point of, oh, okay, I met the dog. The dog went with me to Canada, and then, and then to Europe, to England, and back to Canada and back here. And, when she's herself, it does work well. At one point, she's making sun tea for her friend. And she talked about, like, when I was a kid, I would make sun tea all the time. It was mainly Lipton bags, but it was really exciting. Like, she sprinkles throughout the episodes, because I think I made it up to like episode 5 or 6 or something.
Oh, wow.
I really did. She sprinkles these things throughout, and that's when it's most interesting. It's like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Like, she talked a lot about cooking and that she loves to cook. I'm like, oh, okay. I kind of sort of knew that about you. I knew that you enjoyed entertaining. I knew you enjoyed cooking, but that's interesting. And then sort of talking about the things that she did when she was young and what her life was like and why she's doing what she's doing now. And I do believe that she gardens and does all of these kinds of things. I really do believe that she is that kind of mom that makes the jam and likes to can. And, so the thing is that, but she wouldn't allow us to see sort of that dorky part of her of like, oh, my favorite part of canning is when you hear, and it's been sealed. It's like, that's super dorky. And it's like, okay, that's what we want to see.
That's relatable.
That's relatable. You love canning, and that's your favorite part of that. Like, I think the problem is that I think she was so worried that people were going to give her so much crap for being too much of a pushy princess or being this princess, that she didn't want to go that route. But at the same time, you have to do something and present something. So, and you can't, so some of it's like stuff that you're like, okay, so arrange the fruit in a by color. Like, this is your groundbreaking. I mean, so some of the stuff wasn't terribly groundbreaking. It's a little bit like, I think that was the other thing, is Martha Stewart showed us things that were new or different. And I just feel like in the world that we live in today, I don't think that this is what you do. Like, talk about myself for a second. Like, when I put something out about psychology or therapy or people or whatever, I'm well aware that the world that we live in today, that people are getting messages constantly. So for me to say some really basic stuff, it just seems a little silly. Like, I feel like I have to think about what's the mentality of everybody in the world and what are they consuming? And then how do I make what I say different, stand out, unique to that particular issue? And that's the problem with this. It's like lavender tea bags it's not very groundbreaking. It's just not new.
Making bath salts. Yeah. She took some Epsom salt and then put some Himalayan sea salt. And so, yeah, it's like, okay. Yeah.
A lot of people are doing that.
A lot of people have been doing this. And also, she's in full hair and makeup and, just got, the right kind of clothes. I know, but like really full hair and makeup. I've seen her look much more natural, in other settings, even when, being on television or whatever. I don't know. It just, like I said, it seems overproduced, and it seems like someone's just coming to her and saying, okay, the theme this week is this. And she might have some idea to contribute to it, but then somebody else just comes up with, well, we're going to do ABC and this is what it's going to be. I just don't feel her in it really. Maybe I didn't watch enough episodes. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I'm a little less cynical in the sense that it's not her. I do feel like it is her. I feel like I do think that she probably was a part of it and helped them pick, because other episodes you meet a friend of hers, you meet her friends, and you meet other people and that are part of her life. And that part felt, I think the first 2 episodes are, maybe you should have gone a little bit farther, but my issue is really just, is for someone, I've watched a lot of Food TV, Food Network Star show, and I've watched a lot of that, and I've watched all these producers talk about this, and they all talk about you have to have a very clear point of view. Like, what are you trying to say that's different than everybody else and that's unique and special? And there's one point where she's talking about ways in which she wants to be a good hostess. What does it mean to be a good hostess? Right. And I think that's great. But at one point she takes peanut butter pretzels from Trader Joe's and takes it from one bag into another bag. And I get it. I get what she's saying, which is, listen, you don't have to make everything yourself. Just you can make it special if you do it like this. But it's just a bit of, okay.
Yeah. And some of this stuff, like I wrote this down let's just say, so she has this friend, Daniel, coming to stay in the first episode. And so the theme is like prepping. He's going to be her guest in her house and she's prepping stuff for him. And she wants to have like little snacks in his room. And she makes the bath salts so he can take a bath, I guess. She's arranging flowers. She's doing all this stuff. And I don't know, and then he comes and they start cooking, and this is where she's incorporating him into the cooking, and they're doing this single skillet spaghetti, which didn't look very good. And she's explaining the science of starches and caramelization and all this. And then she just says, the brightness of citrus helps so many things.
Yes. Yeah, her takes on things are not, again, I want to say I really did go into this with like an open mind.
No,
I really
like her.
I think she's gotten too much crapola. I don't think she deserved any of the stuff that she got. We don't know the full story. And at the same time, yeah, it's a little bit like the lack of training, the lack of, and that's what I was saying, that you either need someone who really knows their stuff, or you need someone who is the self-taught person that has a unique point of view. So in the third episode, she has Roy Choi come, who's very famous Korean fusion food, owns tons of restaurants. And he comes and he's sort of showing her, like he's teaching her how to brine and how to do this and how to do that. And so that's where things got a little weird. It's like, are you the expert, or is this other person the expert? Are you bringing friends over and you're showing us how you entertain your friends? Because that's some of the episodes. Are you showing us how you entertain for other people? That's some of the episodes. Are you showing us you learning things from that? That was problem. And you have 8 episodes. If you had 24, if you had a full season of episodes, I could see you spreading things out. But you have 8 episodes. Those 8 episodes could absolutely be one point of view. Like, I still don't know who Meghan Markle is as a cook, a chef. I don't get it. She obviously has skills. She has knife skills. She knows what she's doing. She knows a hell of a lot more about food and cooking than I do, but I'm not putting together a show.
Did someone just tell her that before they started filming, or show her how to use the knife?
No, I feel like she's pretty adept. Like, just watching her, I feel like she's someone who cooks. I really do. That's the sense I get. I do believe that. But I just think that what she wants to be isn't feasible anymore, because there are 50 million of these people, and we live in again, Martha Stewart was special because we did not have phones, we didn't have Etsy, we didn't have any of that stuff. That's why it was so groundbreaking.
Yeah, it was the first time we'd ever seen anything like that, literally. She's the godmother of this.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I'm not quite sure what else to say about.
Oh, here. Well, let me read.
Maybe I need to watch some more episodes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is from Vulture, which I read all the time, which is the title was Meghan Markle pioneers new frontiers in unrelatability. And I was like, ooh, is this going to be bad? So Netflix's new series With Love, Meghan is a testament to the simple but powerful reminder that 2 things can be true at the same time. Meghan Sussex, is a perfectly regular human woman who stumbled into a romance with the prince and then found herself at the center of a tornado of bullshit fueled by predatory British tabloids. A century-old monarchical tradition shaped by imperialism and snobbery and basic ugly racism. All of it was cruel and surreal. No one could ever deserve the way she was treated, and Harry and Meghan's decision to leave the royal family is courageous. All of this is one sincere and complicated reality of Meghan Markle's public persona. The other truth is that, with love, Meghan is an utterly deranged, bizarro world voyage into the center of nothing. A fantastical monument to the captivating power of watching one woman decorate a cake with her makeup artist while communicating solely through throw pillow adages about joy and hospitality. That was the other thing too. She had nothing unique to say about joy and hospitality. Like we hear her talking about how it makes her happy to entertain and make people feel cozy, but nothing she said ever, there was no meaning behind it. Like if she had said, listen, I grew up with a single mom. She does talk at one point eating a lot of she says, I ate a lot of fast food growing up. And I think this is why she loves the fresh fruits. Great. But why, what I don't understand is why couldn't you say, I was raised by a single mom. She worked a lot. I always, but when we had guests come or when I stayed at someone else's house, this is how I want people to feel. And this is what I'm doing. But she never says that. It's always like, there's such joy. There's such this, there's such that. There's nothing. And she says, the article goes on and says, it is painfully defensive. Meghan comes across as constantly worried about what people will think. And because of it, the show can neither flaunt her unusual life, nor can it embrace legitimate ordinariness. It is at once wildly unattainable, like when she describes the joys of sourcing beeswax from your local beekeeper, and mind-bogglingly basic, as in building a whole segment out of arranging fruit in rainbow order. And it is quite, quite sad, a document created by a woman cursed to a life in which even the safest, blandest, emptiest statements somehow boomerang back around towards cuckoo land. And, basically it's just like, it's an inoffensive, fairly rote entry in the general category of home hospitality shows. I mean, it really is. It's like, it's like a very, and she got picked up for another season.
Yeah, which
I would be shocked.
I'm a little shocked about that.
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it goes to third season, because this new season needs to come out soon and you need to retool the whole thing. Because the other thing is, if you look on Netflix, when the show first came out, it premiered at number 5, but then it dropped down to 9. I don't know what it is now, but that's not really great for how big this is. I mean,
and how much money they've put into this. Yeah.
That Kate Hudson, Mindy Kaling show, Turning Point, Running Point, that show is still number 1. Like, it could not knock down a show that had been in there for several weeks. There's several things that had been going on before Meghan came on the market, and she still couldn't beat them. And I think this is why I think it's kind of, people are bored because it's just, what are you going to do with it?
It is boring.
Yeah.
And it's just her, she's kind of, she's trying to talk to her guests, but has a task that she's got to complete in a certain amount of time. And she's kind of moving very quickly and very busy and, okay, we got to do this and she knows she has to get it done in a certain amount of time. And it just feels rushed. And, some of the conversation is strange. And like with Mindy Kaling, people were talking about how she sort of snapped a little bit at Mindy Kaling, because Mindy said, something like, even Meghan Markle does this or that. And she's like, it's Sussex.
But she didn't even really say it like that. I didn't interpret it that way. I thought she kind of laughed and she was like, you do know it's Sussex, right? That's not my last name. And then she goes into this whole thing about how nice it is to have the same last name as her husband and her children. And how special it is to have the same last name as your kids. I don't have the same last name as my child, and neither do you. But okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. I just felt like it was just.
I didn't interpret, but a lot of people did. That was one of the first things that you heard about. And I didn't interpret it that way, but I could see how people might.
Yeah, I don't know. And those finger sandwiches, no kids want those finger sandwiches.
No kids want sour cream. Cream cheese and whatever. Cheese
and cucumber. Oh, and then she made the tomato made a ladybug out of a tomato. Kids don't like little tomatoes. Kids don't like any of that crap. And she put edible flowers.
Yeah.
Really or not. They're going to go, what is this?
Yeah. She really likes the edible flowers. She loves putting edible flowers because when she has Roy Troy come in, she makes donuts and she puts edible flowers all over the donuts and all that other kind of thing.
And then she's talking about, this jam that she made. And the jam is supposed to be her special thing.
Yes, yes.
Riviera Orchard.
American Riviera Orchard.
Yeah. And she's talking about how jam has to be equal parts sugar and fruit. And then she says, but I just can't taste the fruit that way. Like she uses less sugar. So it's like, really, Meghan?
Well, also, she repeats that fact in like episode 5.
Oh,
do you know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. Like you don't have, you don't have anything new to say about any of this stuff. And, I feel for her in the sense that no matter what she does, it's going to be heavily watched and criticized. And at the same time, you got to just see yourself as a Nepo baby or something, Meghan, and you got to just go for it. You got to just do what you want to do and recognize that everyone's always going to have an opinion about you. But if you go off and you show people that you know what you're doing, people that stuff about you, like people don't all think about Carrie Fisher and that her mother's Debbie Reynolds. Do you know what I mean? Like separate yourself from this, reclaim like Monica, like get away from all this and just own it, own being yourself. No one is ever going to quite understand you or know you. So be you.
Well, I was going to say the other thing that really annoyed me, and this is a relatability thing again, is, this is this kids party. So she's making these gift bags for the kids.
Oh, God.
And she's putting in seeds, like little gardening tools, seeds, and a Manuka honey stick.
Yeah, that was weird.
Kids don't want this shit. They want, I don't know what they want. I don't think
they want candy or they want little toys.
Or little plastic toys, that you go home and throw away.
Yeah.
Right after the party. This is not relatable. And I sort of feel like Meghan thinks that she is relatable. I really do think she thinks she's relatable because she's, she is an American. She was the princess for a little while, but now then she's just a mom and, I don't know.
But she wasn't relatable before she married Harry. I'm sorry, she was an actress. She was an actress on a TV show. She wasn't relatable. Her father was in the industry. That's not like, there's certain levels of, you weren't relatable when you already lived a different kind of life. And
but she had some look, she was raised by a single mom. Her dad,
I'm talking about like being an actress. Like once you're on a TV show and you're a working actor, then you're not like everybody else. Anyway, go on.
Well, I think you are still. She wasn't like Julia Roberts or something. I didn't even know who she was until Prince Harry started dating her.
You didn't know Suits?
No, I had never watched Suits. I had no idea who this woman was at all. So I think she was pretty regular and relatable. And, her father wasn't some bigwig in the industry. He was wasn't he like a cameraman or something? I mean, very working class. Those people don't make a lot of money. And, and then I don't know.
I'm just saying that I think when you pursue, she grew up in LA. There's certain things about her that is relatable. Single mom, grew up in LA, but there's lots of things about her that aren't very relatable. I think like growing up in LA, becoming an actress, being on the show for a while, like even though she wasn't super famous. And you married a prince and you had this very high life. Like you're not much like when I look at her, I think a lot about Monica Lewinsky. It's a very different situation, but it's really about no matter what I do, people are going to have these opinions about me and are going to assume that they know who I am. And I've got to stop trying to cater to them. And I've just got to be me. Yeah, and that's my advice to you, Meghan, if you're listening to the show. I'm sure you are.
Oh, yeah.
As you drive your kids to school.
Just a regular mom.
Yeah. And but also really quickly, Martha Stewart didn't present herself as being relatable. Do you know what I mean? Like she isn't terribly relatable.
No.
So, but she was being who she is because that is who Martha Stewart is. So that's why it worked. It's a little bit like just if I would like to see more of who Meghan is. And maybe season 2, she will be more, but it's got to have more of a point of view. Anyhow, that's that.
All right. So where should we go next?
Well, let's talk about the Baldwins, because I have to say, on our Patreon, you talked about watching the first episode of the Baldwins, and I hadn't watched it yet. So I've now watched episode 1 and 2. And I have to say, I like it.
I love it.
I have to say, I'm really into the Baldwins.
Well, they're being very vulnerable and authentic and themselves. This is what, So episode 1 was more kind of just setting up the premise of the show, but they did talk about the controversies that they both have been involved with.
Yes. And
her with her fake Spanish, whatever.
I do want to talk about that, because that was one moment where I called bullshit on that. And I really, again, I don't know exactly what you do, but her explanation of, well, sometimes I grew up speaking Spanish and English, so sometimes I just mix the two. It doesn't make me inauthentic. It makes me normal. Okay. Yes. If that's all you did was just in and out of Spanish or whatever, that's fine. You put yourself on Latina magazine. Like, that's the issue. The issue is you took a magazine cover from someone else and you put yourself on Latina magazine. I mean, she's are representing Latina. Yourself as being Spanish. I don't know. I was kind of hoping, I wonder what it would be if she just sort of said, listen, I met the guy when I was 27. He seemed to be really into Spanish women. I was part of this thing. This was kind of who it was. And I kind of dug into it, and I just made it be bigger than it was. And then it was I don't know, would anyone be okay with that? Could she explain that away and make it more relatable? Because this is a bold-faced lie. I'm sorry. This isn't true.
She didn't explain it very well, because she is not in any way of Spanish or Latina heritage or anything like that. Her father was a Spanish professor at a university in Boston, where she was born and raised. And he spoke Spanish, and I think he spoke Spanish in the home, and she picked up some Spanish, and they would travel to Spain. And I think after he retired, the family moved there. And so that's her Spanish connection. But you're right. She was trying to come off as being of Spanish origin or descent or something. But at least, I mean, she did address it. I mean, I feel like, I said this when we talked about it on our Patreon. I feel like this show is absolutely it's like a redemption arc for both of them. And because at the time, during the first couple episodes of this Baldwins, Alec Baldwin is getting ready to go to trial for manslaughter charges, and he could be going to prison, and it's very serious. And the family, they mentioned that in the first episode when they're setting it up, and they're talking about these are their 7 kids, and he has this child from his first marriage, and she's now a mom. And, they're setting all this up, and they do talk about the controversies a bit, but it's the second episode where it really, really gets real, where literally he's days away from having to leave to go to the trial. And they don't know if Hilaria should go with him or she should stay with the kids. She wants to be there for him, because if he gets convicted, they could take him into custody, right then and there. And that might be it. And the kids, the older, especially the oldest girl, who's 10, is very aware of this. Very aware of what's going on. I didn't really appreciate until I said that, and they put this all on film, their whole process of this state of limbo that they're in, and how it affects their whole family. And he gets into, talking about his family and his family life, and how much he loves his kids and how much he loves her, and how he said, I walked around for 45 years without a home, and I met her, and she was my home. She is, I mean, he got really, really drama.
Yeah, no, he did. And as we were talking about before, I mean, Alec Baldwin is very charming, and he is, and he is a really good actor. Probably doesn't get enough props for being such a good actor, because he can do drama, and he is so funny. He's great in 30 Rock. He was one of the best.
Oh, yes.
He was so good on that show. I was just watching old episodes of Will and Grace. Like, he's so good on that show. He is very, very funny.
Very talented.
Very talented. And he really does, and I think that with Alec, that he came about in the world when serious actors didn't do these kinds of shows. So we didn't really know these kinds of actors the way we do now. I mean, the world's very different now. We can see a lot more of what goes on with actors than back in the 90s, when, 80s and 90s, when he came about. And it felt very sincere to me that it sounds like when he married Kim Basinger, it sounds like he wanted to have, he wanted this life. It sounds like he wanted this life at 30. Like, he wanted a big household full of kids. He wanted this kind of thing, and that she didn't. And then he gets into this custody battle that went on and on and on and on and
on.
For
7 years.
And it was so, and public, and again, it was very public, and a lot was said about him. And I'm not saying that everything he did was great, but I think Kim Basinger also was tough to deal with. It sounds like there was a lot going on, and she didn't get as much of this that he did, because he was much more vocal about it. But so you get the sense of, he really enjoys these kids, and you got the sense from it that they really love these kids. Like, they're so into their kids. They this one is like this.
You can tell they're bonded with him. You can just tell by the way they interact with him. They want him. They go to him. He plays with them. Because he's not there a lot. He's off working. And so when he is home, he does want to be with them and spend time with them. And he says that. He's like, I just want to spend time with my kids. I love my kids. And it's this whole side of him that, we've never seen before. And Hilaria talks about how, he has this survivor's guilt. And that he would say stuff like, I wish I would die. I wish I'd take, instead of this woman being dead, I would rather be dead. And, I'm sure he, was very depressed. And it's an awful thing. I mean, it was an awful accident. It was an accident. So I will never understand why there were ever live bullets there on that set at all for any reason whatsoever. But he, it was an accident, and he feels awful about it.
Well, and then I think it was the second episode that we see Alec in the interrogation room, like after the whole thing happened. He's in the police station explaining it to them. And all you need to do is look at that footage and go, oh, this is someone who, this is not an act. This is so sincere. He is mortified. Like, I truly, truly believe that yes, absolutely, this was never his intention. And I was reading something like they were giving them a bit of slack about how that both Hilaria and Alec always kind of go back to, like, oh no, but it's, this thing is terrible, but it's not as terrible as what happened to her and her family. And it's like, well, what are they supposed to say? He does feel awful. And if this happened to any of us, I would prefer to be dead than to kill someone. I'll be perfectly honest with you. And I think a lot of people go through this. This happens with people. And I don't know how anybody gets through it, but they do. They figure it out. And he does. He says, this is why I have my children. This is because I bet you anything, if he was single, I think he would have maybe taken his life or tried to, or seriously thought about it if he didn't have all these children. And they, so I'm sure this is what's keeping him alive and what's keeping him going, and how awful it all is, because no matter what happens with the trial, he's got to live with this for the rest of his life. Yeah. And it's an awful, awful, awful thing to live with.
Yeah. And he's not worried about himself. He's worried about his family. Like, if he goes to prison and he can't make money, and then he talks about how growing up, he was one of 6 kids, and his father was just worked all the time but didn't have enough money. There was never enough money. They lived in poverty, and his mother seemed like she was overwhelmed, and she couldn't deal with,
overwhelmed and maybe it sounds like heavily medicated.
Yeah. Dealing with having 6 kids, and she has no help, and the dad is struggling with money. So, this is what he comes from. And so it seems like the most important thing to him is supporting his family. And he talks about how after the accident, he's not no one wants to touch him.
Yeah.
No one wants to give him these roles. And he goes off to LA to do some kind of AI thing where they're going to use his image for something. And he has to put on this weird suit and they get all of his mannerisms and all of that. And he's like, I never would have taken this job before.
Yeah.
He's like, but I don't have the choice now. Like, I have to take what I can get. And I think that this television show is the same thing. He's trying to rehab his image. And I think he's doing a good job at it.
Yeah.
It's very, very sincere. And her too, like she always gets a lot of slack, but she talks a lot about, she's very supportive and she talks about how like parenting through all of this is just so hard. And she talks about how she can't imagine, like, if he does go to prison, like, how is she going to do this? And I mean, they do have 2 nannies, but I mean, how are you going to pay the nannies?
Yeah. Psych Legal Pop will be back after these messages. Well, and I saw there was a lot of people on X or whatever it is commenting. I'm not on there myself, but I saw these roundup of comments where, a lot of people, because he talked about his penthouse, that house in New York, and how, he's had it we bought it in 2001 and, there's only 4 bedrooms and everyone's like, oh, poor Alec Baldwin, there's only 4 bedrooms in your $16 million house. It's like, okay, people, this is all, again, it's all relative. It's all relative to, because in 2012 or 11, when they met, they had 2 kids and he was on, was he on 30 Rock? Was that still happening? I mean, he was earning many, many millions a year. That was his lifestyle then. Yeah.
A New York apartment is not like a regular apartment. It's much smaller.
But it's also, this is a guy, he's been working for 40 plus years as an actor. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know why all these people, everyone wants everyone to be so, like, quote unquote, relatable on that level. And it's like, these people are not supposed to be relatable. That is why a camera is following them.
Right.
If these shows were quote unquote relatable, it would be our lives, and our lives are boring. That's why we're watching these things. You want to follow me around all day and watch me do the boring stuff I do all day? Like, that's not entertainment. It's not.
Yeah, exactly. And who I really felt for was, the oldest daughter.
I really
who's very parentified.
Yes.
And
she's 10 going on 25.
Exactly. And she's got all these younger siblings and she's very sweet and very good with them. And she's very concerned about her parents. You can tell. And Hilaria talks about how, the kids pick up on all this stuff that, if you're close to your children, they can't help but pick up on what's going on with you. It's just natural. You can't hide things. And, you can't just not prepare your kids for the possibility that dad might go away for a few years.
Yeah.
Or more than a few years. And so she's very worried and, I think she has a lot of anxiety but it really hit me. It's like, wow, you never really think about, when someone's going through something like that, like how it affects every person in the family and how just everything. And they really did a good job of, like I said, being open and vulnerable and letting us see, and I don't care if you're famous or not, if you're facing a manslaughter charge and you might be going to prison, it's all the same. It's all the same feelings.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it is, that oldest daughter, unfortunately, is like another mom. And that's the part that's really tricky is when you have all these kids, Hilaria does kind of use her as another nanny. I mean, she does get thrown into that role a lot, whether they intended to or not. I'm still perplexed by the fact that why they needed those cats and dogs. Like, why? Like, if he's allergic, I still don't get how that was okay.
Yeah, he's allergic
that
to
I think
cats.
Is also weird.
And they have 4 cats and 4 dogs. He's allergic to cats. And they're all living together. In the second episode, they're in his house in the Hamptons, which is very large. But that apartment, the first episode, when they're in their New York City apartment, not that big. And
no, I'm sure it is really big in comparison to New York apartments, but yeah, it's still not a lot. When you have that many kids,
8 pets and 9 people, 9 humans.
So that's the other part of it too, is I don't understand that the kids and the cats and all, I mean, the cats and the dogs, I don't understand if you have all these kids, why did you, or this person's allergic to cats, why do you have 4 cats? It just seems excessive.
Yeah. And we said before that for sure there's like animal poop all over the place. And they showed in this episode that, the kid is running by the kitchen table or something and there's poop on the floor.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure that there's poop everywhere and chaos. But it was so funny. There was this one scene. I don't know what was going on in this scene. They're talking to Alec and Hilaria on the couch, and he's wearing kind of like a sports coat that the collar is kind of one part of the collar is kind of turned over. Mm-hmm. He looks very disheveled, and then under the sports coat he has a t-shirt and then a pair of shorts.
Oh.
And I think he thought maybe he was only going to be filmed from the waist up. Because he had shorts on with his sport coat. But even the sport coat looked weird. And he looked around, I'm like, oh my God, it reminded me of our friend, David.
Oh, yes.
What he looked like.
Well, Alec is 66. And those bags, I mean, those that I'm developing myself, these bags, they are prominent at times. Mm-hmm. You can see that. And that's the other part of it too, is I love, he seems so happy and he loves all these kids. But I think that if you asked him, he would tell you, I wish I had done this. I wish this was my 30s. Like, I think he now has the family that he's always wanted. It's just, he's so much older.
He's tired.
He's going to be. He's tired. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we all know that the charges were dismissed against him for the prosecution, basically withholding evidence.
Well, and I feel terrible that that one girl is in serving time for.
Well, she should be.
Oh, is she the one that should? I thought she was the one that kind of got sandbagged a little bit. No.
She was the one in charge. She was the armorist. She was the person in charge of ensuring the safety, and she's the one who, I don't know all the details, but somehow some live rounds of ammunition got mixed up with some dummy rounds, and they were all in the same box, and everyone thought they're supposed to be dummies. They're not supposed to be live. And one of the live ones got into the gun, and that's how it happened. And it's like, that is your only job. Your only job is the handling and the safety of this firearm. And you bring in live bullets to a movie set?
Well, and was that her who brought in the live? I mean, this is the part, I don't know all the details. Was it her that brought in the live bullets? And I also remember that since she was 24, part of this issue was who's hiring this someone
she was
so
very
inexperienced to do a very, very, very important job.
Yeah.
So
she had some connection. I think it was that her father or someone in her family was also an armorist. And I think it was like a nepotism thing. And she was very, and this might have even been her first project. I don't know.
Yeah. And so there is some culpability with the producers or whomever hired her. Again, I don't know. I just kind of, I feel for this girl that's 24 who is the only person that's being punished in all of this. And it feels like there was some other issues too. Again, I'm not saying that Alec Baldwin or the producers or any of that, this was a horrible, horrible accident, but it feels a little like she was really left out hanging the bag.
I don't know. That's what I heard. I don't know all the facts, and I'm sure someone will school us on it.
Yes.
We're wrong. But I mean, again, that's her only job on the set. And live ammunition got into a gun that was being used on the set. I mean, come on. She's only going to jail for like 18 months or something. 2 years, something like that.
What's that, 18 months?
She's probably almost ready to get out.
Poor girl. I just feel for her. It's just, it's terrible. The whole thing is awful. It's truly awful. It really is. There's no good way of talking about it. It's so awful. And look at us. We're struggling to talk about it here. And so imagine Hilaria and Alec trying to talk about it on a TV show. Of course they're going to be criticized for it. I mean, but I think they're just trying to show people, like, we're well aware that we know that we're not the victims and all of this. We're just trying to
say that.
Explain to you a little bit about like what it's like for us. So anyhow, so let's pivot over to Denise Richards, because woof, boy, she's wacky.
She is something else. Did you ever watch her first reality show?
Yes, I did actually. If you can believe it, that was on E. It's complicated.
Too. And this was like right after her divorce or maybe a few years after her divorce from Charlie Sheen, and her mother had died. And so her father moved in with her. Yeah. And I remember she had all these animals and like goats and dogs and rabbits and like all these animals everywhere. And it was kooky. And she's God.
And not much has changed. So I don't think when she was on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I don't think we had the podcast and we weren't covering it. But, you know, I think you and I both were on the same page with the fact that what they did to her second season of the show was so wrong and so dirty. And so if you're not a fan of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but there was this Brandi Glanville came on the show and basically said she had some sort of relationship with Denise, and all the women believed Brandi like outright or felt like it was okay to talk about all these things on camera.
A sexual relationship
on camera without both parties
married. Denise was married.
She had gotten married, and she and instead of one of those people going to her and saying, hey, this is what Brandi's saying about you, they wait till they get to Italy and then wait for a dinner and then and pound on her. And I'm sorry, but Kyle Richards, who very famously has had this relationship with Morgan Wade, who is like, well, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore, was leading the charge of, well, you have to be open and honest. You have to be open and honest. What they did to her was so wrong. It was so bad. It was. So bad. And I mean, I know people have feelings about Brandi Glanville. I don't want to get into that whole thing, but none of those women were her friends. Not one of them. I mean, her issue with Lisa Rinna was, listen, you and I have been friends for 20 years. Like, don't you think that supersedes this show? And it didn't. It didn't. And I think that was very, very telling.
So, no, they all acted like total jerks to her.
Awful.
And she was, you know, I liked her on the show because
I loved her.
She's interesting.
Yes.
She had her new husband, Aaron, and I think she didn't talk a lot about the Sheen girls, really. She did talk about her adopted daughter, Eloise, and
they were mad at her because everybody loved her after the first season. She was Saint Denise because I think for so long, the tabloids really made her out to be this, vixen that stole Heather Locklear's husband, when in actuality, they, none of that was true. She was really painted in the tabloids in a really poor light for a long, long time. She came on this show. And she is. She's from the 90s. She's beloved. People remember her from the 90s. She is this Bond girl, right? So when she came on the show, she was like a breath of fresh air. She was someone who had lived this life, who had this crazy Hollywood life, and was kind of crazy herself, but she just didn't. But she didn't take herself seriously at all. And that's, I think, one of the pieces about her that is really charming, is the fact that this woman takes, she does not see herself as like, I'm an actor, look at me now, she really sees herself for who she is. And she is very charming. And, she's Denise fucking Richards. Isn't that what she said? I'm Denise fucking Richards. It's like, yes, Kyle, she is Denise Richards.
She knows, she has been through it all. I mean, to survive that marriage with Charlie Sheen and come out of it. I mean, I don't know what was going down in that marriage, but she filed for divorce when she was like 6 months pregnant with their second kid.
Yeah.
So things were bad. And then we saw him go off the rails after that. And it was just like, oh my God, can you imagine trying to co-parent with this guy? But somehow she did. And she even took in, he went on to get married to Brooke Mueller.
Who we see in the show as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's still friends with her. She took her children in. She had twin boys with Charlie Sheen, and she had a drug problem. She was in and out of rehab all the time. And Denise Richards took her twins into her home and cared for them for a period of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that is a good person.
Yeah. This is Denise is truly a good person, and she does not take herself seriously. This is the one issue that I think Denise needs to work on boundaries, because she has no boundaries. She's actually a little too forgiving. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little much. There are times, and this is what's very likable about her. She tells this story of, like, I guess her nephew. Is it her nephew or cousin? It's the girl's cousin or nephew or uncle, like, had a drug problem. And apparently he stole all of her handbags. And then he went on Facebook and lied to people and said, I'm a Louis Vuitton rep. And Denise is like, those are my bags. And but she didn't turn him in. She basically just, she's like, she went to all these pawn shops and bought them back. And she's like, listen, I was mad, but it's just stuff. He's alive. I love him. And you're like, yeah, you see that. But there are other times that you're a little bit like, wow, that was just a couple years ago, Denise. Like, I don't know if I would really be having this guy back in my life on this level, like giving advice to my kids and all that. Like, that just happened a year ago,
Yeah. The other thing that was, talk about no boundaries. So Aaron's mom and dad and brother came to stay in their house. And 3 years later, they're still there. So Denise needed some space. So she rented a town. She moved out of that house, rented a townhouse, and then rented 2 more. They're all next to each other, I guess. So she could have an office and a studio, and then one for her daughters. And I'm just like, oh my God. Why are these people, they move in, like his parents and his brother, grown adults, move in and they just stay for 3 years? What is happening with them?
That is very weird. And that was another part of my list of things in which she has no boundaries. Like, how is it these people? And also, how do you have all this money? I mean, these townhouses weren't like, whoa. I mean, they look kind of like generic townhouses, but that, I mean, those 3 townhouses, how much is that? Each townhouse is what? 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 a month.
Oh yeah.
Plus HOA fees times 3. And I don't know how big the town, and plus she has a home, and plus she lost a lot of stuff in that fire from several years ago.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing too, is like all of Denise's stuff burned down, and so did Camille Grammer stuff. And of course, Camille was shopping and buying all this stuff. Like, Denise was like rummaging through like the free clothes they have fire victims. She's like, I just found this shirt. I mean, that's really who she is. Like, and that's what's so charming about her. But at the same time, you're a little bit like, Denise, do you have this kind of money to be renting 3 townhouses and supporting these people? I mean, are these people paying you rent at all? Like the family? I mean, it's a little bit, you do sometimes feel like you want to stop Denise and go, okay, is this really the best thing?
And also, I don't understand what her husband does. He has some sort of wellness center, and that's where she met him. She went there to get some sort of treatment or massage or something, and they ended up hooking up. And he's weird. He's got all these weird theories.
Yes.
Remember on Housewives, how he was talking about something about the electromagnetic field and people are listening and
well, did I tell you the story? I can't remember if I told you the story on the podcast or off the podcast, but I read something that apparently with Aaron, again, I want to just say this is all allegedly. I read it on the internet. So as we all know, the internet is not always factual, but the story was that this electromagnetic thing that he is being sued by someone whose wife had cancer, who Aaron promised and said, I absolutely can help her with this.
Tell me this,
And they paid him something like close to $150,000. I mean, for all of these treatments. And then the wife dies or something happens and nothing worked. And they tried to come back. And apparently he gave some of the money back. But we don't hear him talking about his business at all this time around. And I think a lot of it is because I do think that he got himself in a little bit of trouble. I think he was making some claims that he could not back up. And it just, the way the story was written, it just kind of felt like he took advantage of someone who was in a really vulnerable state.
Yeah.
willing to do absolutely anything to save their spouse. And I think, again, I can't remember when we talked about that, Instagram's worst,
con artist,
when people have cancer, they're willing to do anything to get better, figure out what to do. And people feel so powerless. So I know he kind of took advantage of them, but I don't know any of that, but she's some of the funniest. This is the thing, is she is funny, but she doesn't mean to be funny. Like, the best line was, so her two daughters, she has these two daughters that are very close in age, Sam, who's 20, and Lola, that's 19. They are polar opposites.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to really think about who are the kind of kids that Charlie Sheen and Denise Richards would produce, these two, like opposite ends of the spectrum. Like, so Sam is on OnlyFans very famously and, putting it all out there, and she's out and about and likes to go out and party and do stuff, right? She has a sister, Lola, who's really into God and Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it feels like this is a relatively new thing. So stay tuned, people. I don't know if God and Jesus she's going to be so pro that, but she might be, who knows? But Lola is this very kind of like sweet and gentle and nice. And just as long as the Lord loves me, I'm great. But the two of them are fighting. And so the two of them are fighting. So they're at this picnic, and so Lola had a guy friend that Sam started dating. And then Sam broke up with this guy, and Sam expected her sister to dump this guy as well.
Yeah, to unfriend him.
And never speak to him again. And Lola's a little bit like, wait a second, I was friends with him first. And these are all my friends. This person is part of my friend group. So what are you expecting me to do? That's crazy. So Sam says something to her like, I want you to stop being such a bitch, dude. And Denise is like, don't call your sister dude. She's your sister. You're like, well, she just called her a bitch, but okay. And then she gets her purse chain. Her purse chain gets caught in the thing. And the whole time she's just Denise is like, her daughters are fighting, and she's just like, trying to yank the thing out. You're like, she's watching. It's comedy gold. It really is.
It is. Well, she just ignores them. They seem like they fight a lot. Yeah, that's Sammy. She's scary.
You think?
She scares me. She's really, I don't know. Yeah, she's talking about how she was, working at a candy shop, and then she just decided to go on OnlyFans. And she's like, yeah, I sell nudes.
Mm-hmm.
This girl is 20.
Yeah, I know.
And then when Denise saw how much money Sammy was making on OnlyFans, I think she made like $1 million in her first month or something. Denise is like, well, I'm going to do that. And so Denise joined OnlyFans, and then Sammy was pissed.
Well, hold on. I felt like this story was my interpretation of the story and the way Denise told it was, I knew my daughter wanted to do this. I wanted to support her and not shame her or make her feel shamed. So I'll do it as well. That was kind of how I interpreted that story. Okay. No. That's how I interpreted it. So if anyone else interpreted it like that, please tell me. That's how I got it.
I heard her talking about it on Jeff Lewis, and she was just like, yeah, like I saw how much money she was making. She's like, well, I can do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe that was, yeah.
No, I don't think she was trying to be a supportive mom. Like,
well, I just got the sense
that you're selling nudes. I'm going to sell nudes too.
Well, no, but I would not I wouldn't be surprised if she was the kind of mom that was like, I believe, that she's totally for her daughter doing what she wants to do. And I wouldn't be surprised if she was the kind of mom that would be like, I'm going to take my top off too, daughter, like just kind of wanting to support her in that way. But okay, it was for money, which makes sense. And I'd
do it if I had her body and whatever, look, so I'd do it too.
Well, and also she's not wrong. She's like, listen, it's out there already.
Right.
And
didn't she pose for Playboy probably at some point? Or, I mean, yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is she said she came out here when she was 20. She said she's Sammy's age. Like, she's true. I mean, and this is what I like about her, is the fact that she's like, listen, I can't, what am I going to say to her? It's very much like she's not a hypocrite. She's very like, she gets it. She sees it and she gets it. She does. But seeing how she lacks boundaries, and she just, you're kind of like, you can see why she married. You can see why she married someone like Charlie Sheen. You can really see it now. He was in a good place when they met and married. He was sober and he was in a different place than he was. But, you can see that she really was like just the kind of person who said, well, this is my now ex-husband. And no matter what he does, I'm going to support him. No matter what my children do, no matter whatever happens, these people are family. And again, she probably could use a little more boundaries. So,
yeah. But
that one kid looked just like Charlie Sheen too. Did you see the son?
Oh,
one of the kids.
Bob. What is his name?
Is it Robert?
Yeah, Bob.
Bob. It's Max and Bob, right?
Yeah.
Those are the two kids. Yeah. That one kid looked just like him.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh. Where is Charlie Sheen? I hope he makes an appearance on this show.
He might. What is he doing now?
Where is he? What is he doing?
He must be trying to get acting work, right?
Oh, I don't know. I think he's too far gone. Who's going to hire Charlie Sheen at this point? It's too much of a liability. I don't know. I haven't seen or heard from him in so long. I don't even know what he looks like anymore,
Yeah.
I hope he comes on the show. I heard that he was going to make, some appearances. Yeah, I want to know what is he doing now? How is he? I want to know more about Brooke. Like, how is she doing? Like, we saw her, they had this barbecue. She came and, she's aged quite a bit, like that drug aging kind of look,
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But each week it seems like there's going to be some new Bravo adjacent kind of person. Because we got Camille Grammer and then we got Tori Spelling.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, the whole Tori Spelling stuff was very, very interesting. And, but I think you also see that this is one of the things about Denise that is very kind and nice is that, she goes on that podcast, she sits in that bed and she's just telling Tori, like, maybe she should give some advice to Meghan Markle because she's just basically like, listen, enjoy your life. You've lost these two close friends you were on the show with. Enjoy your life. Like, go do you. Stop worrying so much about everything. It's like, she's a good friend. She's a good person. So
yeah, Tori Spelling's another one I worry about. I don't know what's going on with her. How is she supporting? I don't know what, I think it was last summer or a year. I don't know. They kept snapping pictures of her. She was staying in hotels with like her 5 kids.
And that's right. With the mold, and the black mold thing or something.
Oh yeah. I don't know. It's like, is she homeless? Like, what is she doing? I don't know. That whole thing in their family about the money is so strange. So strange how, when her dad died, she and her brother got something, but it was very
less than $1 million.
It's like $800,000. And, Aaron Spelling is a billionaire. And so he left everything to the mom and maybe they will inherit it when the mom dies, but they've had to live all this time because Candy Spelling is a lot younger than Aaron Spelling. She's still alive and doing great. Yeah. And, they need money now.
Yeah.
Tori needs money now and she's, and she has a lot of kids and I don't think her husband or ex-husband now has been very successful in supporting the family.
Well, did you ever watch True Tori? The greatest
episodes,
of all. I swear, I think that was hands down my favorite reality show was True Tori. I think it only had like 2 or 3 seasons, but talk about vulnerable and really putting it all out there. I mean, she basically put everything out there. It was all the aftermath of Dean's affair and everything that happened. And we see her like confront, she went and talked to Dean's first wife, the one that, they ran off together and she talks to her, first husband, but he didn't want to air that. And the show was so fascinating because that she has, she rents all of these storage spaces.
Yes.
Like,
and she's kept everything
like
her entire life.
Yes. So she's a woman about our age who grew up in great wealth. And that's the other part of it too, is one of the arguments that Dean always had was he kind of felt like she was always, she had no sense of money or any of that. And it's a little bit of like what, you're going to raise these kids and give them everything. But then when you pass away, you're going to ensure that they don't have any money. Like there's a little bit of that, but she definitely, there's something there to like the point where I think her financial situation is a mess, and she could probably get herself into a better place if she sold everything in all those places and got rid of the thousands upon thousands of dollars they're paying every month for storage, but she psychologically cannot get rid of the stuff. That's fascinating. I mean, that's a show. I'd watch her try to go through all of that, like Hoarders, Celebrity Edition.
Yeah, I know.
But that was a great show. That really was a very real, true show.
Yeah.
So, yeah, anyway, Tori Spellings, she's been through a lot.
Tangent there. Yeah, she has been. I mean, I don't know. Imagine being so wealthy. Like, I mean, they had a room in their house that was just a wrapping room to wrap presents, So,
And she famously was on the show, and she was this quote unquote, Nepo baby. And she had to fight through all of that. And I mean, she didn't have a normal life. Her life has been a little all over the place. So anywho, but but again, I'm sure Real Housewives of Beverly Hills have reached out to Tori to be on the show, and she hasn't wanted to do it. So I don't think she's completely like willing to do it.
Well, I wouldn't be so sure. I mean, I think maybe they think it's too, I don't know, maybe that's too much, like to have Tori Spelling on there, or maybe it's too much of a liability. I don't know. Because I think that you have to have some, to be on those shows, you have to have some degree of, I don't know, responsibility. I don't know. She strikes me as just probably like not very responsible, doesn't do what she says she's
really?
Do.
I think she is. I would think she's a responsible person. Yeah. You don't think so?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, she just seems like really, I mean, no, she can't even like, I mean, I don't know. I should stop talking. I don't know what I'm talking about, but, I don't even know how we got off on such a tangent here.
Because she appeared on the show.
No, I know. But anyway, did we miss anything else that happened on the show?
No, I think those are all my notes of everything. So Meghan Markle, you're not missing anything. I mean, because I kept watching more episodes because I wanted to see, like, am I missing something? Am I missing something? Am I missing something? And it was just like, no, I'm not. This is the same thing. Yeah. Listen, if you're a crafty person and you love this kind of stuff and you love crafts, I think would be a great show, but it's nothing new. But I highly recommend the Baldwins.
Yes, the Baldwins is my favorite, and this Denise Richards is a close second, maybe even tied for first. These are both good shows.
Yes.
So yeah, that's that.
All right. Well,
the television's getting good again.
Thank God. As our world falls apart, thank God. There's something. Yeah. The Baldwins.
We need more.
Good, happy content.
We need more crazy families, on TV to watch.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy us and enjoy this show, please go check out our Patreon. We do something similar to this. We do a Hot Topics, and we do a Patreon exclusive true crime and an Ask Us Anything. If you have not already and you enjoy our show, please give us a 5-star rating and review. Please follow us. Follow us on social media. Subscribe and do all those things. Tell a friend and spread the word.
Also, just to add, on our Patreon, you get these shows ad-free.
That is true. You do.
It's one more benefit.
Good Good point, Brooke.
Okay.
All right. We'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.